Big win for the Pheonix Suns, or should I say the Utah Jazz, who get one step closer to Cooper Flagg. Absolutely incredible stuff we're seeing from the young players from the Jazz. Let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd post-game show. All right, guys, absolutely incredible outcome for this Jazz team, despite the front ownership. And something tells me the owner is making too many, meddling too much with what this Jazz team is doing. And it still works out best for Utah. They are doing everything they can to give guys like me and everyone who understands the importance of building your team around championship caliber talent a heart attack. And this still goes the way you need it to. Incredible for the Utah Jazz. All right, let's go for it. Pheonix comes into this game. Pheonix is not very good. Pheonix is the test case and absolutely the example. I hope Ryan Smith was watching this game, because this is the type of team that mortgaged everything, that tried to get everything right away, that went and traded all their assets for big names right now. They traded everything for KD. They had a star in Booker, and they traded everything more for a player like Bradley Beal. Sounds certainly like something the Jazz kind of wanted to do last offseason when we heard the big game hunting, right? Instead, it didn't work out, thank goodness. And I tell you what, man, can we please just let Danny Ainge do his job? Can we please just let Danny Ainge, the guy who has orchestrated 2 championship caliber teams and either won with those teams or got them started and got them the championship caliber talent they needed. Can we please let him do his job? He knows what he's doing. Let him do it. Anyway, sorry guys, we were on the playback. By the way, the link for the playback is below. You can watch the games with me if you want. I was losing my mind. The voice is gone. And we got a game tomorrow we got to watch. So if you want to watch, you better join and be down there below with me. We had a lot of fun watching this one. Holy smokes, did we go from absolute despair, absolute sadness and depression to the peak of elation and happiness when Grayson Allen takes the 3 and knocks it down. So anyways, this Suns team, who is not great. In fact, that a certain someone last offseason was trying to tell Jazz front office people to make some trades. Remember, Mikal Bridges and what was the other one? They were supposedly going to get Paul George after they traded for Mikal Bridges, and that was the team they want. Well, look at what's happened with Paul George in freaking Philadelphia. And Mikal Bridges couldn't change his jump shot and couldn't hit a jump shot for the first 2-3 months. And Lauri Markkanen is having a career low 3-point percentage. So I'm pretty glad that didn't happen. That's a pretty big lack of talent awareness and team building awareness, to be honest. Sorry, guys. I'm a little frustrated because we didn't do what we were supposed to do in trade deadline. They didn't do what they should have done last offseason. And despite all that, they're still finding a way to lose these games. Now, to be honest, they had to do some pretty blatant tanking, say that 3 times fast, to get to where they are now. And that was the right thing. But you wouldn't have had to. And Utah would have even more assets had they done the right thing. Now, we could talk about what they should have done the last 2 years, which they utterly wasted. But we're beyond that now. We can embrace what's going on right now and be happy about it. But every single night, we're looking at this Jazz team play all these veterans. John Collins. Lauri Markkanen should have been traded last offseason. Absolutely. He is now trade eligible as of right now. And we'll see what happens this offseason. But there's going to be some clash, I think, with what this Jazz front office wants to do. I'm telling you right now. We'll see. It's going to be really interesting. But anyways, they are playing those guys, and Lauri Markkanen's playing. John Collins is playing. If Colin Sexton was healthy, he would be playing, and he's legitimately hurt. At least they rested Jordan Clarkson. I don't know if we're going to see Jordan Clarkson the rest of the year. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But anyways, this Pheonix Suns, back to the point, this Pheonix Suns team is 26-25 with Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. And I would argue that trio is probably better than a trio of Mikal Bridges, Lauri Markkanen, and Paul George. Paul George, who's pretty much looking pretty washed at this point. Mikal Bridges, who's a very nice role player. And Lauri Markkanen, a very nice role player. And we were going to go all in on that. It doesn't make sense to me. Utah needs a championship caliber team, a championship caliber player, and a championship caliber secondary player to go with him. And they can get that this year. And then if you consider the fact that Utah can get those players right now, they can just draft them. They don't have to trade for them. They can draft them. Their own draft picks are the most important assets they have right now of all their assets, including the 2031 Suns pick. Right now, this pick for Utah is insanely valuable because right now, this pick sits at number 3. Can you imagine what teams would probably give the Jazz for this pick right now? You know what I mean? Let's say the Jazz wanted to go out there and get a star. Like, I don't think they could get one of the top 10 players out there, but there are a lot of players out there that Utah could get, including a team like the Pheonix Suns and Devin Booker. They could probably get someone of that caliber if they combine this pick with some of their other picks. But that's because it's insanely valuable, and I would not do that. Nor the Jazz should not do that. What Utah needs to do is continue to let their young players develop. They need to continue to draft young players, and they need to make sure this pick right here is as high as it possibly can be, to do everything you can to get it there. Nothing else matters. Nothing else. Nothing else matters. Literally nothing else. I hope, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we do this show over and over. We write the articles. We try to explain these things. We've done the numbers. We've shown what it takes to win a championship and where you get those players. The percentages of players that you get that win you a championship, it is directly correlated to how high you are in the draft. There is just a fact. It's a fact. There is no other way that this happens. And if you think you're going to pick someone like Nikola Jokic, who was a second-round pick that turned into the multi-year MVP that he is, you're up a creek. It's galaxy brain stuff. I don't know what to say. It's hard. I don't understand. What do we have to do to teach these people to understand? I don't understand. Anyways, so the point of this is Utah's pick right now. This win was absolutely crucial for the Pheonix Suns and for the Utah Jazz to have the Pheonix Suns win because it keeps Utah here. Charlotte wins tonight on a buzzer beater. De'Aaron Fox actually almost won the game. He hit a shot to beat the Hornets, but it was with the shot clock had already run out. Big time, because this locks Utah into the number 3. Utah has to watch these standings like crazy. Crazy. The fact that Utah's 3 is insane. Utah should be in this too, no question. And that's the thing that's frustrating. There's no point to any of this if they do not do everything they can to get number 1. Now, I'll take 3 instead of where the Utah Jazz were a month ago when they decided they wanted to win like 3 of 6, and they dang near won 3 of 4 tonight. What is the point? You know, why? You know what I mean? Portland right now has won like 10 of their last 11 or 9 of their last 10 or whatever it is. But I can at least understand that because they have gotten their number 2 pick and they have Jeremy Grant and they have some young talent on that team. Kamara and Shaden Sharp and all these guys. They're a fun team. And they got the center, what's his name, from UConn. Looks really nice. Klingen. That team has a young core, and if I'm them and I start winning, I'm okay with that. But Utah does not have a number 2 pick on their team. They don't have anyone close, right? And so it just doesn't make sense for what Utah's doing. Right now, Lauri Markkanen is what? Maybe the 35th best player in the NBA? Maybe? What is going on? What are we doing? So anyways, a huge massive thank you to Devin Booker, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, who shot 36%. Grayson Allen missed he was 0 for 7 to start the game and then just got hot, and especially from three, like sizzling. 7 for 14, 50% from three, and no one bigger than that game winner, or not the game winner, but the tying 3-point shot that sent it to overtime. Massive. And then Devin Booker going for 47 with 11 assists. He was awesome. Now, from three, not quite perfect, but he was really good. This Ryan Dunn three was actually huge too. Every single shot mattered. Every single shot. And this is something we need to really explain. I think this is incredibly important to explain. This Jazz team did everything they could to win this game. If Colin Sexton was healthy, he would have played. They did everything they could to win this game. This Pheonix Suns team did not have Kevin Durant, did not have Devin Booker, and they are an under 500 team with those players. And Utah could not beat them. I mean, the Suns got a little lucky with that play, but it took a Devin Booker three and a Grayson Allen three to tie it to send it overtime. But that should tell you where this Jazz team is. They did everything they could to win this game with their young talent mixed with their veterans. John Collins, Lauri Markkanen, and when Colin Sexton comes back, he's been playing. You do not want to go for it with that core just yet. You don't want to. Why? Do you want to be this Pheonix Suns team? Do you want to be the Chicago Bulls? Do you want to be the Sacramento Kings? Because that's what the Sacramento Kings are doing. They saw that Zach LaVine is available, so they went and got him. De'Aaron Fox doesn't feel like they have any sort of future at all. Is that what we want? They went and got DeMar DeRozan, and I heard there's other people out there that talked about on their podcasts the Utah Jazz going after DeMar DeRozan this offseason. Why? Why would you do that? We're not there. And if you want those things, then stop telling me that you want to win a championship, because that's not how it happens. That actively keeps you from getting a chance to win. And everyone who says, well, Utah can win the lottery because Atlanta won the lottery. Well, that was really exceptional what happened with the Atlanta Hawks last lottery. More times than not, it is the teams that have the highest percentage that do it. Just go look at the numbers. And for that, I would say, well, Utah was at 8 and they bounced back. So why didn't you mention that? Right? Utah went into the lottery last year at 8 and dropped to 10. So if you're going to say that a team at the end can win it, well, guess what? A team at the end can also bounce back and make it even worse. So Utah should have been lower last year anyway, right? And the thing that's so frustrating about all this is the last 2 seasons when Utah doesn't do what they should have done, and then we go into the draft and we go into NBA lottery night, and Utah tries to trade up in the draft. Well, at that point, it's too late. You do your work now. You sow your seeds now so you reap them later. It is the people that don't have their lanterns filled with oil knocking at the door at that point, okay? You fill your oil now instead of when Judgment Day comes and knocking on the door, because guess what? You ain't getting in at that point. It's not happening. Fill your oil now, and you fill your oil with losses like tonight, and you fill your oil by trading off vets. Utah is playing with fire right now. They decided not to trade these vets, and, it could be that there was just not an offer on the table, and that is perfectly possible. That is absolutely something that could be what happened. But something tells me that we're not trading these players because we just want to. It's either one of two things. We're either expecting too much for them, or we're trying to keep them because we think that we'll be good next year. This team is not good enough to do anything next year. And if you get too good next year, guess what you're going to do? You are going to lose your first round pick next year. It is top 8 protected next year. And if you keep these vets and you try to win next year, you're losing it. And that asset is incredibly valuable. And so for a team that is likely at best next year, let's say the Jazz win and get Cooper Flagg. I think Cooper Flagg is going to be incredible. But he's not going to be just winning the NBA title year one. He's going to have some struggles. He's going to struggle from three. He's going to have to learn and adjust to NBA speed and different things like that. But at the same time, he's also going to be awesome. If you think it's a good idea to go too fast next year and go too quick, you're wrong. It's going to hurt you long term. Sure, it's fun. Sure, it feels good to win some games. It's exciting. Sure, it's fun to see your young players succeed. I like it too. But you can watch your young players succeed and also work towards Cooper Flagg had you done the right thing. Right? I don't know how this is not... at this point, I don't understand. I talk about this every freaking video. Every post game this year. And the last 2 years. I mean, we have talked about this endlessly. We talked about this post Donovan and Rudy post games in the playoffs. You know? How is this not clear yet? I don't get it. Anyways, Utah has some tough decisions to make this offseason, but we're talking about today. This was a big-time loss for Utah. Incredibly important. We're done talking about the Suns. Let's talk about the Jazz. So, they lose the game. That's what's important. That's what matters. That is what's going to get them towards Cooper Flagg. The other thing that's important, developing young players. And it's not just developing young players. It's finding out which young players are going to be a part of your core down the road, right? But if you don't give those young players a chance to show it and a chance to develop and prove it, whether or not, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's the other element of this that, like, you know, playing John Collins, fine. But honestly, we shouldn't have made that trade. I want some truth serum. I want to know who pushed for that. I mean, it's great, and I love John Collins. He's my daughter's favorite player. But, you know, what was the point of that? It obviously was a move that was made because the Jazz thought they were good. But when I say the Jazz thought they were good, I think it's Ryan Smith thought the Jazz might be really good. Turns out they weren't. And they got hot that one season, but it didn't end up mattering. And it ended up costing them big time. You know? Utah right now, at worst, would have Amen Thompson, who looks like prime Kawhi Leonard, had they done that first season post-Donovan Rudy, what they're doing now. And this would be like the final year of tanking, right? If we had done this before, we would be looking at possibly going for it next year. Because let's say Utah drafts Amen Thompson. He's learning how to shoot the ball. They trade all their vets. They get Keontae George because they got the number 16 from Minnesota. And then they go into next year's draft. They probably get a top 5. In fact, let's just go look at the draft from those previous years. So let's go look at the NBA draft 2024. Utah could have gotten 2 top 5 picks in those 2 drafts and a top 5 pick in this one. And if you go here and look, what are we looking at here? It wasn't even a very good draft, but Utah could come out of that with, you know, a Zach Edey or a Donovan Clingan or a Rob Dillingham or a Reed Shepard or Zachary Rizachet or any of these players. Cody Williams has not panned out, and maybe he will. Alex Sarr. Stephon Castle, who by the way, I know for a fact that the Jazz loved him. Well, here's the thing. Had Danny Ainge been allowed to do what he likely wanted to do, Stephon Castle, who just won NBA Rookie of the Week, would be on this Jazz team. Could you imagine the defensive potential of a team of Amen Thompson, Stephon Castle, and then you go in and get like a Cooper Flagg or a Dylan Harper to pair with those guys? Are you serious? There are so many things that could have happened up till now that the Jazz wasted the last 2 years. We would have had Amen Thompson. And this is the worst case scenario, right? That's the worst case. If Utah had the number 2 spot in the draft, and right now they're right around that spot during the Wembanyama, they would have had Wembanyama. That's what it took to win Wembanyama. The number 2 spot won it. And that's what we're going for now. That's why you want to be there. You want the best shot possible. You don't want luck. You don't want dice rolls deciding things. You want to create your luck. You want to manufacture your luck, right? Now, Utah, it's good they lost this game. They play again tomorrow. I think it's against the Clippers. Utah has a chance to tie themselves with the number 2 spot. New Orleans trades Brandon Ingram, and they got some veterans back, and I'm guessing they're going to play. I don't know what they're doing. They have a bad ownership, so they may very well make some really poor decisions. But they have bad ownership, and it's not even clear if freaking New Orleans is going to be in New Orleans in the next 2 or 3 years. It's bad news bears over there. And that team is run by ownership that doesn't know what they're doing. They care more about the Saints than they do the New Orleans Pelicans. They barely care. And if Zion Williamson plays this year and they get, who did they ended up getting for Brandon Ingram? In fact, let's look at that right now. Brandon Ingram makes, let's see, Toronto Raptors. Let's see, didn't they trade Kelly Olynyk? Olynyk, who helped Utah lose out on Amen Thompson, maybe he'll help the Pelicans lose out on Cooper Flagg. So they trade Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk, 2 solid NBA veterans. That trade makes no sense whatsoever. But the teams that make trades like that, that's why they're always bad. It's why they're always bad. There's a reason. That's why. That's what happens. These decisions all matter. All of them. And they're not difficult. They are not difficult. But yet these teams decide to do it. And Utah has made some bad decisions. They've made some good ones. And they've made some really great trades. That trade for Rudy and Donovan looks incredible now. When you consider what teams are able to trade and how much teams are valuing first-round picks do not get traded anymore. So those trades were incredible. But Utah has wasted the last 2 years, and they have a chance to make up for it now. So at this point, Utah is doing the right thing, getting a top pick. If they win the lottery and get Cooper Flagg, it changes this team forever. And if they do it right next year, then not only are you changed as a franchise, you become championship contender fast. Think about this. If Utah wins the Cooper Flagg sweepstakes this year and goes into next year, clears the deck, just goes with all the young players they are really happy with. I think you can keep Kessler and still be bottom 3 next year. You can keep Kessler, you can pay Kessler, and you can keep Collier, and you continue to play Keontae George off the bench or at shooting guard, whatever you think, but it's pretty darn clear that Isaiah Collier is going to be a special player. But you keep those core guys, you trade everything else. That includes Lauri Markkanen. You trade everything else. You go for it for DeBonsa. You go for it for Cam Boozer. By the way, his dad loves Utah. So if loving Utah is all that matters, well, then Cam Boozer certainly works. And he's a stud. A stud. Next year's draft is incredible. And DeBonsa, if you win him, he would go number 1 this year over Cooper Flagg. No question. So if you can somehow get 2 top 5 talents in 2 fantastic top-heavy drafts, you're set. And then in 2027, that when the deck is cleared, when the cap space is there, then you go get veterans. Then you go out and sign someone. Then you go make trades. That's when you go out and trade for a Brandon Ingram or someone like that on the cheap, right? That's when you do it. Because now you have your core young guys. It's basically the Houston Rockets method or the Boston Celtics method or the Oklahoma City method. You have to get those core guys. But once you have them, then you make the ancillary trades. You value your picks. And then, you go into 2027 and who knows how good the Lakers are going to be. They're probably going to be about the same. I know Luka Doncic is really good. He's also overweight and gets injured because of it. And so we'll see. But you've got a 2027 Laker pick. You've got Wolves pick. You've got Cavs pick. One of those is going to turn into a nice player. And you just add those players to your team with their good contracts. And you build and you go. And that's how you build a dynasty. I thought the Jazz wanted long-term contention. I thought that's what they told us. Right? Isn't that what they said? And so Utah has to do the right thing. Get the right guy now, get the right guy next year, and then do the trades. But if you do it before, then you're throwing away your most important assets. And the most important asset on this Jazz team, it is not Walker Kessler. It is not Isaiah Collier. It is not Lauri Markkanen. It is their first round pick right now because it is a chance at a MVP caliber player in Cooper Flagg. You cannot get that player on the Jazz in any other way. And you cannot win a championship without that player. That chance is everything. It's everything. And when it happens, it changes your team forever. Forever. You get that guy, everything's changed. Then things change on this channel and in the Jazz Stadium. Season tickets get that much more expensive, that much more, so for all this whining about tanking and all that, when you have that superstar on your team, guess what? You will realize really quickly it was all worth it. When Utah drafted Karl Malone, it changed everything forever. Because that guy was on the team forever. He was an MVP caliber every year. He won multiple MVPs. He led them to 2 championship runs, and probably should have been more. That loss against the Spurs in the shortened NBA season is just absolutely the most heartbreaking thing outside of losing to Michael Jordan. But you don't get there without him. And by the way, you don't get there without John Stockton next to him. The NBA these days is much different than it was back then. These teams know who is good now, and those players are at the top. And if you can combine Cooper Flagg with someone else in this next 2 drafts, or get your Batman and Robin, whether it's this year and next year or vice versa, however it works out, that's how it's done. And then you fill the ancillary parts with young athletic talent. Utah has all the pieces. They have it all right there to win a championship. They have the assets. It's right there. But if they go too fast, if they make a stupid trade this offseason or a dumb signing or waste assets on dumb things, then it'll go out the window. Oh, it's just a fact. So, big time stuff. Okay, let's talk about the young players that are looking incredible, that are a part of this future Jazz dynasty, if these things go the way the Jazz need them to. John Collins, I'm surprised no one went for him harder. We knew that there were multiple teams asking about him. I guess Utah, there's multiple reasons. We don't know what was going on in the trade room. We don't know what the offers were. But if Utah had any sort of opportunity to trade him and also just give more time to the guys like Kyle Filipowski and Micah Potter and whoever, that's what they should have done. Now, we don't know if what there was. So, I can complain and I can make a lot of people mad on Twitter, but we don't know. And I don't know. But I hope that if there was an opportunity to get some assets that you can use in the future, either for just drafting or for trading for players and things like that, that they would have done that. But I don't know if that was there. It is so hard to make a trade now, guys. It's really hard. So I don't know. But he is just a solid NBA player, rotation player. And he's good enough to help Utah win the games they don't want to win. And 21 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 42% from 3. I mean, who wouldn't want that? He might be very tradable this offseason, to be honest, because he's an expiring contract and Utah can bring on a bad one. Like, trading for someone like Kyle Kuzma is kind of the move, because you can bring that guy on and he can help you lose games. He helped Washington. But anyways, Lauri Markkanen tonight, 7 for 16 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3. The 3-point shooting still continues to be a little bit alarming. He had 2 good nights before this one, but then shoots 2 for 7 in this. 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. 20 points. Solid outing from Lauri Markkanen. We'll see what happens this offseason. Walker Kessler is really good. He's really good. 9 for 17 from the field, 19 points, 22 rebounds. Just big time stuff. 4 assists. You can tell that he's a piece that I wish I could be in the Jazz front office and just know what everyone's thinking and hear what each side says. Because Walker Kessler is awesome. He really is. Now, when contracts come up, you're going to be looking at $30 million. That's what Isaiah Hartenstein made. I can promise you that Walker Kessler's agent is going to be asking for it because he knows he can get it somewhere. If you think that the Lakers wouldn't do whatever they could to find a way to create cap space to put someone like Walker Kessler next to Luka Doncic, you're crazy. You're crazy. So Utah, if they want to keep Walker Kessler, is going to have to pay him. This offseason will be interesting. What does Utah want to do? Is Walker Kessler part of the future? I think my kind of feeling about this is that you kind of have to choose between these two this offseason. If you want to go for AJ DeBonsa, if you want to go for Cam Boozer and have transformational talent on your team. Cam Boozer is going to be one of the most consistent, solid fours that comes into the league, guys. He's going to be super good. Super good. I need to start watching more film now, but I might be breaking my own heart because who knows what happens this offseason. But Utah has to kind of decide because here's my wish is I kind of hope that Utah picks Walker Kessler, trades Markkanen, and goes all in on Taylor Hendricks next year, and Utah goes completely youth movement. Isaiah Collier, Deontay George, Taylor Hendricks, Walker Kessler, and whoever they draft this draft, and then fill your bench with tank commanders. They got to give Cody Williams more time next year. They're also going to get another player from the Minnesota Timberwolves in that draft, and those are the guys that need to get the minutes. Absolutely, because guess what? You got to see what you got. And then come 2027, that's when you're like, you know what? It's time for us to go because we're in pick swap range and we got to go and let the Minnesota Timberwolves lose. That's when Minnesota is going to start tapering off and Utah can start winning, and they'll get that Minnesota Timberwolves pick instead of their own, and you can start winning, and it's the best of both worlds. You can see the path, and it's the path they need to take. And I'm pretty darn sure that's the path Danny Ainge wants to do. I just hope the Jazz owner lets him do it. Okay? I hope so, because that is the path to championship. That is the path to winning. Utah has set themselves up in an incredible way. They will absolutely, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 2027 is actually the pick they get outright from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Either way, they are getting a pick from the Wolves, and they are going to be solid. You can go out and you can use free agency money to fill the gaps. That's how championships are won. It's just how it's done. You get your core guys, your Stockton and Malone, your Darren Williams and Carlos Boozer, I guess, or your Cooper Flagg and AJ DeBonsa, and then you just fill the gaps in free agency, and in the draft, you just draft best player available. But free agency is for filling gaps. That's what it's for. If you need a center, you go get a center. If you or you use your lower picks to make trades for players that you need, type thing. That's what you do. But you can't do it if you don't have your core stars. 100%. 100%. So anyways, I think Utah has to decide between these two guys this offseason because Walker Kessler is going to get paid. And if you're going to give 80 plus million between these two guys, and Utah is the bottom 5 record team, you got to start asking yourself some tough questions, And that's on top of the fact that John Collins is making $26 million, Jordan Clarkson's making $14 million, and Colin Sexton's making like $16 to $18 million. So it's going to be an interesting year next year. Svi Mikhailiuk played. I was really scared he was going to turn into Pistol Svi Maravich, and he did not. So thank goodness. Thank goodness. But Walker Kessler, 22 boards. 4 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks. He's really great. And he might be worth $30 million. He might be. I think at this point, if I were picking between these two players, I'm keeping Walker Kessler. Let me know in the comments. Who do you pick? Who are you taking between Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen? Because I think at this point, I'm keeping Walker Kessler, and I'm seeing what I can get for Lauri Markkanen on the market. And on the Markkanen market. anyways, Walker Kessler and Isaiah Collier were the stars of the show for Utah tonight, and you got to be excited about that if you're a Jazz fan. You have to be excited because you're showing that Walker Kessler and Isaiah Collier might be the pieces that can back up your superstars that you're drafting in this draft and next. That's what you're trying to do. That's why someone like me gets so frustrated when you get these wins that, you don't want to get. You don't want them. But just really eye-popping stuff. 22 rebounds for Kessler. Absolutely mauled Plumlee. And then you look at Isaiah Collier, 7 for 15 from the field, 46%. He hit some big shots at the end of the game. I mean, he's getting that kind of mid-range pull-up, and it's just going down. And 1 for 4 from 3. Yeah, not great, but he's only taken 4, and he's starting to hit them. And if he starts hitting that 3 with consistency, you've got yourself a guy that can be on the floor in a championship game because he defends pretty well. That defense he did in overtime on Devin Booker was awesome. And the fact that Devin Booker hit one of those fadeaways, incredible stuff. But look at this, 15 points, 13 assists for Collier. The Jazz have a guy, and that's what they've been trying to do. That is the whole point. Like I said to start the show, you are trying to lose games so you can get a superstar core talent, and you know that there's a superstar in this draft. His name's Cooper Flagg, and there's likely going to be 2 or 3 out of this draft as well that really pan out into be something special. But you know for sure that Cooper Flagg is going to be one of those. If you compare him with like Walker Kessler and Collier, and if Taylor Hendricks can figure things out, if Keontae George, maybe Keontae George is just an elite 6th man that comes in and plays kind of like a Manu Ginobili or something like that. Maybe. But you really are getting some very clear, obvious talent here in Kessler and Collier. They are awesome. I think, honestly, it's kind of interesting to me, and maybe this is jumping the gun, but they might be your most untradeable guys. I think Isaiah Collier, when you consider the goals of the team and trying to get Cooper Flagg, it makes him, very, very valuable. I mean, he's kind of, isn't he? Is he maybe the top 3 most valuable, one of the top 3 most valuable players on the Jazz? When you consider the fact that Walker Kessler is a drop big, and, you can trade for those guys. Like the Lakers went out and got Mark Williams just like that. A drop big just like that. Now, Walker Kessler, I think, is just as good as Mark Williams and he's a much better defender than Mark Williams. But they're kind of the same caliber of guy. The fact that they can just go out and get Mark Williams for like a pick and a young player, I mean, that's not hard to do. And considering the absolute treasure chest of assets the Jazz have, they could do something like that down the road. That's why I think there's an argument. Isaiah Collier's, with what he's showing, is looking like a player that can play with a Cooper Flagg going for a title. Pretty awesome stuff, man. Nights like tonight are a big deal. Now, the Suns are bad. I want to see if he can put up this kind of stuff against the Boston Celtics and the Thunder, but he kind of is. So pretty exciting stuff. His ability to assist the ball is pretty spectacular. 13 assists, guys. I mean, and you look at the last, let's go to Basketball Reference here. And let's just go to Collier. But, man, the numbers he's putting up, he's already up to 5.3, and that's not even with tonight's numbers added. He's going to be up to like 6 a game or whatever it is. I was looking at Michael on Blue Sky. I think he put it up. I think he's at like 6 point something per game now. He's putting up crazy numbers. And so let's go to the game log here. So in his last 3, look at this, 10, 11, now 13. Maybe by the end of the year, he's just averaging 20 assists. I mean, we talked about this last show that, the number 1 assist guy in the NBA is averaging like, what is it, 11, 12? What was it? Let's just go, let's go and look at the leaders for 24-25 and assists per game. Let's just look. Trae Young, 11.5. If Isaiah Collier gets to the point where he's averaging that type of stuff, that's insane. And they got him at the end of the first round. And I tell you what, I went through some of my old tweets. No one ever goes back and looks at the good ones. But I was super excited to have a potential chance to draft Collier at like the number 1. And Utah got him at the end of the first round. So, all the things that scared people off are starting to fade away. And the things that made him so exciting in a bad draft, albeit, but he's looking like a very special point guard. Very nice. Look at this. In fact, let's just look at where he's at right now. So, wow, why did that jump so far down? 11.5 for Trae Young. Let's look at Collier is right now number 35 in the league. That's crazy. And he's going to go up to like 6 after this. So that puts him in like the top 20 in assists as a rookie. And this is after not playing starting minutes. Had he been playing all year, there's no question he could be in this range. Look at this. Top assists in the league. If you're at 8.2, that puts you at number 7, Chris Paul. Tyrese Halliburton, who people were losing their minds over a couple seasons ago, is at 8.5. Collier is going to be right there. That's pretty exciting stuff. And so that's the point of all this. You want to play these young guys. You want to see who you want the cream to rise to the top so you can skim that off and add your salt and create your butter, right? Because that's what Utah's doing right now. You get all these picks, all these young players, put them in the vat, and see which cream rises to the top. And that's what you skim off. And so, I love Keontae George. But if he doesn't pan out, it's fine. Because if you come out of this and you find out that Isaiah Collier and Walker Kessler and Taylor Hendricks are your best players, then that's fine. I think you absolutely don't trade these guys unless someone comes with an offer. I think Keontae George has a chance to be really nice. But if he doesn't, it's fine. You're finding out that Isaiah Collier's really nice. And Walker Kessler's really nice. And what sucks is we didn't get to see Taylor Hendricks this year. Bryce Sensabaugh didn't get a ton of minutes tonight because it's just the inconsistency. But we're seeing a lot of consistency from Collier. And then if you get a superstar in this one, you get a superstar in the next one. I'm sorry to beat this drum, but it's the drum we got to beat. Then you can see the path to a championship. That's basically what you're doing. So anyways, really nice stuff. Keontae George struggled at the end of this one. He had some nice moments, but him coming off the bench has been pretty good. 2 for 9 from 3, not great, but 4 for 4 from the field. He had 4 assists and 3 rebounds. He was scaring the heck out of me earlier. When he was playing well, Utah was up by 10. So Keontae George has got to find some consistency. He just does. He's got to find it. He's got to also defend. But these numbers are just not going to be quite good enough if you're going to want to be on that championship team. And so obviously Utah's going to play him next year a lot, and he's got to figure out how to be a consistent contributing player on both ends of the floor. And if he does, then it's incredible. He's just not quite. It doesn't take a lot for Key to figure it out. If he can get, if he can make 8 for 16 from the field, that's 2 more shots than what he did tonight, right? You're right there. If he can make 1 more 3, then 33% is not that bad in a playoff game. And this game was like hard fought overtime game. You know what I mean? And then he's got to play defense. Those are some big asks. Going from good to great is the hardest thing to do in the NBA, right? There's a lot of people out there that would say Keontae George is like a good player. Maybe he's not a great player right now. Certainly not. And he's not an elite player. He's not. It doesn't mean he can't, but he's got to figure out how to get there. Micah Potter, not much to say. Filipowski had some big moments tonight. He had a nice game. In 15 minutes, Filipowski had 11 points and 11 rebounds, 1 assist. This is a big night for Filipowski. He showed all the things that he can do. You've got to let him get some run next year. That's the thing that hurts, is when you keep players like John Collins and play him 38 minutes, you are keeping Filipowski from getting 30 minutes. That's the point. And then Bryce Sensabaugh, 12. So, you want to see these guys play. You want to see them develop. Even Johnny Juzang, why not? But playing those guys is a bigger deal because it helps you lose these games so that you can get Cooper Flagg. That's the point. That is the whole thing. And then developing these young players so that when you have your core studs, you keep the ones that are untradeable, the Isaiah Colliers, potentially the Walker Kesslers, and you go. But you can't pull that cake out of the oven too soon. You've got to let it cook properly. You cannot pull the cream from the top until it's there. If you do it too soon, you won't get there. Let the cake bake. Okay? Let the cake bake. All right. That's the show, guys. That's the show. 45. Man, sometimes I don't even realize how long it is. 45 minutes tonight talking about the Jazz. What else would you want to be doing on a Friday night? Let's see. What am I doing? I'm a little tired. Let's cue the music. And let's see what would happen. Utah solidified their position. A loss tonight would have been bad, guys. A loss tonight would or a win tonight for Utah. A win is a loss. Puts them with Charlotte, who won tonight. By the way, maybe a little scary for the Lakers if the Charlotte Hornets trade away Mark Williams and then win the next game. I don't know. But let's see here. So, if the lottery was today, what would happen for the Utah Jazz? By the way, we need this Minnesota team to start losing some games, and we need these teams to start winning. Hopefully, Jimmy Butler helps this Golden State Warriors team pass up Minnesota. We really could have used Jimmy Butler the other night for this freaking Warriors team. All right, let's see what would happen. All right, Utah drops 3 spots. It puts them at the 6. If they were at the 2, that puts them at the 5. Brooklyn jumps, Charlotte jumps, Toronto jumps, and New Orleans also wins the lottery. Utah goes to 6. Still not terrible. Still not bad because this draft has some great players at that spot. Trey Johnson, Yegor Demin, Common Malawach. Where did they drop Malawach again? 16. I don't know, man. I think Malawach is a super talent. And then, Jeremiah Fears. Who else is out there? Some people really like, where is he? Who am I? Where is he? Colin Murray Boyles. That's a guy that a lot of people really like. I got to watch some Colin Murray Boyles. But look at that. 1.9 steals, 3.0 assists, 1.6 blocks, 6'7" power forward. We'll have to check him out. All right. So Utah gets the 6. A pick between, according to Tankathon, Trey Johnson, Konkanopel, Yegor Demin, who I really like, and I guess to me, Common Malawach. Bummer. I would have liked to have won Cooper Flagg. And then, so if whoever, let's see. Oh, I should have done it here. It's better to do it from there. All right, let's see. Let's give a shout out to our All-Stars tonight. Let's give a shout out to Dirty Jazz Car Wash Channel. I believe in Steve Jazz Exile, and I believe the Jazz can win. Cooper Flagg, Ryan Edward Perry, the legend, Baby Elliott Madsen, See Ya Alexa later, Christian House Money to Haas, Jordan the Goat Besserell, Austin R. Grant, editor extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, and Patrick Kubo, the connoisseur. Guys, if you're new here, subscribe, like the video, and if you'd like to support the channel, hit join. I would appreciate it. And guys, sorry if my video cuts out sometimes, the audio. I need probably to improve some of my equipment. It's not happening right now. If we make it big, maybe, but I don't know if that's ever happening. And yeah, I don't know. I'm going to try to do videos every day. That's the goal. It's hard, but I need to do less editing to do that. So that's why that happens sometimes. I don't want to spend 2 hours every night editing videos. Sometimes I want to watch a show. And yeah, that's all I got, guys. I will talk to you tomorrow. Utah plays back end of a back-to-back. Could be a big-time weekend for Utah. 2 losses.